adventures of kindness and courage, stories for little ones. In a quaint village nestled between a grand castle and sweeping mountains, lived a young girl named Serenity. Her days brimmed with wonder as she explored the meadows, fields, and forests that surrounded her home. Each morning brought new possibilities, but today felt different. As the morning sun cast soft golden hues across her village, Serenity felt a deep excitement stirring in her heart, an invitation to venture into the heart of the forest that had always called to her. With careful thought, she gathered a few of her favorite treasures: a small leather-bound notebook filled with her drawings, a smooth river stone that sparkled like starlight when the sun touched it, and a tiny compass her grandmother had given her. The compass was special, not just because it could guide her way, but because her grandmother had told her it was magical, that it would always lead her to where her heart needed to be. She also packed a small cloth bag with some fresh berries and a piece of honey bread, knowing that adventures often made one hungry. As she stepped onto the village path leading to the forest's edge, she paused to admire how the morning light painted everything in soft, dreamy colors. The distant mountains wore caps of misty clouds, and the castle towers gleamed like silver against the sky. Sometimes, on quiet mornings like this, Serenity imagined she could hear music drifting from the castle, the sound of bells, or perhaps a distant flute playing a melody that seemed to dance on the wind. The tall oaks and gentle breezes welcomed her like old friends as she approached the forest's edge, as if she was stepping into a sanctuary of secrets just waiting to be discovered. The boundary between the village and the forest was marked by an ancient stone archway covered in soft moss and tiny white flowers. Local legends said the arch had been built by forest spirits long ago, and that passing beneath it with a pure heart would bring good fortune to travelers. The morning air was crisp and sweet, carrying the scent of wildflowers and pine. As she entered the forest, warm sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, creating intricate patterns on the forest floor that danced with each breath of wind. Each step made her feel more connected to the world around her, as if she were becoming part of the forest's ancient rhythm. The soft crunch of leaves beneath her feet joined the gentle symphony of birdsong and rustling branches. She followed a winding path deeper into the woods, noticing how the forest seemed to change character with each turn. In some places, the trees grew close together, their branches intertwining overhead to create green tunnels of leaves and light. In others, the forest opened into small clearings filled with wildflowers of every color imaginable. Purple thistle, yellow buttercups, white daisies, and pink clover that attracted buzzing bees and delicate butterflies. As she ventured deeper, movement caught her eye, a flash of russet fur between the trees. There, sitting regally on a fallen log, was a magnificent fox with brilliant amber eyes and a coat that seemed to capture the very essence of autumn. The fox's presence commanded attention, not through force, but through a quiet dignity that made Serenity hold her breath in wonder. Sunlight filtered through the leaves above, creating dappled patterns on its fur that seemed to shift and change like living shadows. The fox's gaze met hers with an intensity that spoke of ancient wisdom and clever thoughts. Though no words passed between them, Serenity felt as if the fox was sharing secrets of the forest, teaching her about the power of quick thinking and adaptability. She noticed how the fox's ears moved constantly, taking in every sound of the forest, how its bright eyes missed nothing, and how even in stillness it seemed ready to move at a moment's notice. The fox tilted its head, studying her with curiosity, and Serenity found herself doing the same. In those moments of quiet observation, she learned that wisdom wasn't just about knowing things. It was about understanding when to be still and when to act, when to speak and when to listen. The fox's presence reminded her that sometimes the cleverest solution isn't the most obvious one, but rather the one that requires patience and careful thought. Before the fox melted back into the forest shadows, it stood and stretched, then touched one paw to a nearby stone. Serenity noticed that the stone was marked with strange swirling patterns that seemed to glow faintly in the dappled sunlight. She wondered if this was another forest secret, another piece of magic that only the fox and its kind understood. As the fox gracefully disappeared into the underbrush, Serenity carried these lessons with her, feeling more attuned to the forest's whispered wisdom. She continued along the path until she came upon a babbling brook, its crystal clear water dancing over smooth stones. The sound of the water was like gentle music, creating a peaceful melody that seemed to speak directly to her heart. There, beside the gentle stream, stood a magnificent deer, its large eyes filled with a profound gentleness that seemed to touch her very soul. The deer's coat was the color of autumn leaves, and small patches of sunlight that broke through the canopy made it appear as if the creature wore a crown of light. Near its feet, small white flowers bloomed, as if nature itself sought to create a perfect setting for this gentle being. The deer's presence brought an immediate sense of peace to the clearing. As it gracefully lowered its head to drink from the stream, Serenity watched in wonder, noticing how the creature's every movement seemed filled with both strength and tenderness. Small birds fluttered nearby, unafraid, and even the flowers seemed to lean toward the deer, as if drawn to its gentle nature. The deer lifted its gaze to meet hers, and in that moment, she understood something profound about kindness. How it could be both gentle and powerful, soft yet unwavering. The deer's quiet dignity reminded her that true strength often comes wrapped in gentleness, and that kindness was not a sign of weakness, but rather a choice that required its own kind of courage. As she stood there, sharing this peaceful moment with the deer, Serenity felt her heart expand with compassion, not just for the creatures of the forest, but for all living things. When the deer finally moved on, disappearing into the dappled shadows of the forest, she carried with her a deeper understanding of how to move through the world with both grace and purpose. As the day continued, Serenity found herself in a sun-dappled clearing where she encountered a playful rabbit, its white tail flashing as it hopped through patches of wildflowers. The rabbit's boundless energy and joy were contagious, and soon Serenity found herself smiling as she watched its carefree movements. Unlike the other animals she'd met, the rabbit seemed to embody pure happiness, finding delight in the simplest things: a patch of clover, a gentle breeze, the warm sunshine. The rabbit's presence taught her about the importance of finding joy in life's simple moments. As she watched it hop and play, occasionally pausing to wiggle its nose in her direction, Serenity realized that happiness wasn't something that needed to be searched for or earned. It was all around, waiting to be noticed and embraced. The rabbit showed her that every moment could hold a spark of joy if viewed with the right perspective. As the afternoon light began to soften, Serenity came across a clever raccoon sorting through some fallen leaves near an old hollow tree. The raccoon's careful movements and curious nature immediately captured her attention. She watched as it used its nimble paws to examine everything it found, showing remarkable problem-solving skills and determination. The raccoon noticed her presence, but continued its exploration, seemingly inviting her to observe its methodical approach to discovery. In its actions, Serenity saw a different kind of courage. Not the bold, dramatic kind found in storybooks, but the quiet courage of curiosity and persistence. The raccoon showed no fear in exploring the unknown, approaching each new discovery with enthusiasm and resourcefulness. As she watched the raccoon work, Serenity learned that courage wasn't about being fearless. It was about moving forward despite uncertainty. The raccoon's adventurous spirit and clever problem-solving showed her that challenges could be approached with both wisdom and playfulness. Even when it encountered obstacles, the raccoon simply found another way, teaching her that setbacks were just opportunities to try a different approach. As Serenity prepared to head home, a flash of brilliant red caught her eye. There, perched on a low branch, was a beautiful cardinal, its feathers blazing like a small flame against the forest's green backdrop. The bird's presence seemed to add a final touch of magic to her day, its bright crest held high with a dignity that drew her attention completely. The cardinal tilted its head, regarding her with bright, intelligent eyes. Unlike the other animals she'd met, the cardinal seemed to bring a message of hope and perseverance. She watched as it navigated through the branches with precise, purposeful movements, its red feathers catching the late afternoon light like tiny rubies. What struck Serenity most was how the cardinal's brilliant color stood out so boldly against its surroundings. It made no attempt to blend in or hide its beauty. And in this, she found another important lesson. The cardinal showed her that there was strength in being uniquely yourself, in letting your true colors shine brightly for all to see. As if to demonstrate this further, the cardinal began to sing, its clear, distinctive notes ringing through the forest like tiny bells. The song spoke of joy and confidence, of the courage to share your voice with the world. Serenity stood quietly, letting the melody wash over her, understanding that each creature, like each person, had their own unique gift to share with the world. The cardinal's song seemed to weave together all the lessons she had learned that day. The fox's wisdom, the deer's kindness, the rabbit's joy, and the raccoon's courage. Its music added a final note of harmony to her adventure, reminding her that all these qualities could exist together in beautiful balance. When the song finally ended, the cardinal gave her one last look, as if ensuring its message had been received before taking flight. Serenity watched as it soared above the treetops, its red feathers blazing against the golden afternoon sky, like a final farewell gift. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of pink and gold, Serenity felt a gentle pull guiding her back toward her village. Each step homeward carried that weight of the day's lessons. Wisdom from the fox, kindness from the deer, joy from the rabbit, courage from the raccoon, and authenticity from the cardinal. These gifts from her forest friends had transformed her in subtle but meaningful ways, making her feel both older and younger at the same time. Older in understanding, but younger in spirit. The familiar lights of her village began to twinkle in the distance as dusk settled around her. By the time she reached home, The first stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky, like diamond dust scattered across velvet. The comfortable sight of her house, with its warm windows glowing against the twilight, welcomed her back from her adventure. In her cozy bedroom, surrounded by her beloved toys and treasures, Serenity prepared for sleep, her mind full of the day's magical encounters. As she climbed into bed, pulling her favorite quilt up to her chin, she began her nightly ritual of saying goodnight. But tonight it held special meaning as she included her new forest friends. "Good night, clever fox," she whispered, remembering the wisdom in those bright amber eyes. "Thank you for teaching me that true cleverness comes from patience and careful thought." "Good night, gentle dear," she murmured, her heart still warm with the memory of its graceful presence. "You've shown me that kindness and strength can live together in perfect harmony." "Good night, joyful rabbit," she said with a smile, recalling its carefree hops through the wildflowers. "Thank you for reminding me that happiness can be found in the smallest moments." "Good night, brave raccoon," she whispered, thinking of its curious and determined spirit. "You've taught me that courage comes in many forms and that persistence is its own kind of strength." "Good night, bright cardinal," she whispered, remembering its brilliant presence and uplifting song. "Thank you for showing me the beauty of being uniquely myself." Then she turned to her familiar bedroom companions, the everyday objects that brought her comfort and security. "Good night, my faithful teddy bear," she said, hugging the soft plush toy that had been her constant companion through countless adventures. "Thank you for always being here to share my stories." "Good night, gentle nightlight," she whispered to the soft glow that kept the darkness at bay. "You remind me that there's always light to guide my way, just like the wisdom I found in the forest today." "Good night, cozy blanket," she murmured, snuggling deeper into its familiar warmth. "You wrap me in comfort, just like the feeling of kindness I learned from my forest friends." As Serenity lay in the quiet darkness, she reflected on her extraordinary day. Each memory glowed like a small star in her heart. The fox's clever wisdom, the deer's gentle strength, the rabbit's pure joy, the raccoon's brave curiosity, and the cardinal's bright authenticity. These feelings settled deep within her, becoming part of who she was, reshaping her understanding of the world and her place in it. In these peaceful moments before sleep, she made a promise to herself. She would carry these gifts with her always: the wisdom to think carefully, the strength to be kind, the ability to find joy in simple things, the courage to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and the confidence to be truly herself. These lessons from her forest friends would guide her through all her future adventures, big and small. As sleep began to steal over her, Serenity's thoughts drifted like autumn leaves in a gentle breeze. In her dreams, she would return to the forest, where her animal friends waited to share more adventures and wisdom. Under the watchful eyes of the stars, she drifted into peaceful slumber, her heart full of the magic she had discovered and the promise of more adventures to come. The night wrapped around her like a gentle embrace, and as she slept, the moon cast its silver light through her window, as if blessing her with sweet dreams. In the forest beyond, her animal friends continued their own nighttime adventures, each one carrying a small piece of the connection they had shared with the young girl who had entered their world with an open heart and left with wisdom beyond her years. And somewhere in the darkness, A cardinal's night song echoed softly through the trees, its melody a reminder of the magic that lives in being true to oneself.